Level 1. The refrigerator hums at 6:12 a.m. and you are standing in front of it, holding a lunch bag that isn't full enough. Your daughter is 4. Her name is Mara. She doesn't know yet what a bank balance is, which is the only mercy in this entire morning. You have $340 until Friday, and 6 days to make it last. The peanut butter jar is almost empty. You scrape the sides with a butter knife longer than you need to, not because you're hungry, because scraping buys you 11 more seconds before you have to decide what she eats tomorrow. Mara asks if she can have the fruit snacks. You say not today, baby, like it's a preference and not a math problem. She doesn't push. She's 4. She trusts the sentence. You drop her at daycare, $186 a week. Due Monday. Not paid yet. The woman at the desk smiles at Mara and not quite at you. You tell yourself that's nothing. You know it isn't nothing. You go to work. You come home. You do this again. The bank sends a low balance alert at 9:47 p.m. You mute the notification without opening it, because you already know the number, and knowing it twice doesn't help either of you. You sit on the edge of Mara's bed after she's asleep, and you look at her for longer than you need to. And what you feel isn't sadness exactly. It's the specific fear of a parent doing math in the dark. Not for yourself. For the version of her that depends entirely on numbers she'll never see. The first rule. At 0. Love and money live in the same sentence whether you want them there or not. Level 2. $5,000. Mara is 7. You have an emergency fund now, small but real, sitting in an account you don't touch even when the car needs $600 in brakes, and you feel the old panic reach for it. You pay the $600 from a credit card instead, and eat the interest because the $5,000 is not for emergencies that feel like emergencies, it's for the ones that would actually end you. You've started saying no differently now. Not, we can't afford it, which Mara has started repeating back to you in ways that make your stomach drop, but not this month, which sounds like a decision instead of a wall. She doesn't know the difference. You do. You pick up a second job 3 nights a week stocking shelves after she's asleep, and your mother comes to sit in the apartment those nights, and Mara wakes up once asking where you are, and your mother says you're working, and Mara goes back to sleep like that's a complete answer. You get home at 1:40 a.m. smelling like a warehouse. You check on her before you shower. She doesn't stir. This is the part nobody photographs. The second rule. $5,000 doesn't feel like safety. It feels like the first breath after holding one for 7 years. Level 3, $50,000. Mara is 10. You bought a house, small, 2 bedrooms, a yard that's mostly dirt, but a yard. She has her own room for the first time in her life, and she rearranges the furniture in it 4 times in the first month, like she's testing whether it's really hers to move. You open a 529 with $50 a month, which feels insultingly small next to the tuition numbers you looked up once, and immediately close the tab on. You stop opening that tab. You tell yourself, $50 a month for 8 years is still something. And the math, when you finally let yourself run it, says, you're not wrong. Mara asks why her friend Devin's family has a pool, and you don't. You don't flinch the way you would have at level 1. You say some families have different things, which is true, and also a sentence you needed 12 years to be able to say, without your voice cracking. You take her to the library instead of the store. She doesn't know it's instead of anything. She just knows Saturdays are good. The third rule. $50,000 doesn't buy the pool. It buys the version of you who can say no without apologizing for it. Level 4. $150,000. Mara is 13. The word college starts appearing in conversations you didn't start. A guidance counselor sends home a packet about AP courses and testing fees, and you read it standing at the kitchen counter, and for the first time in a decade, you don't feel your chest tighten. Reading a piece of mail, you can cover the testing fees without checking the account first. You notice this. The not checking. The way you'd notice a limp finally healing. You take Mara on a trip, not a big one, 4 days at a lake 3 hours away, and she doesn't ask if you can afford it, because it hasn't occurred to her to ask. That not occurring is the whole point of the last 9 years. You overhear her tell a friend on the phone that her family is doing okay, said with the specific, unbothered confidence of a kid who has never once had to think about whether that's true. You almost cry over dish soap. You don't tell her why. The fourth rule. $150,000 doesn't change what you tell your kid. It changes what you no longer have to. Level 5, $500,000. Mara is 16. The college conversation is no longer theoretical. You sit down with a financial advisor, a real one, not a form you fill out online. A man named Trent who pulls up projections on a screen and talks about 529 growth and expected family contribution. Like these are ordinary words, instead of ones that used to make your hands shake. He tells you Mara can likely attend most schools without loans. You ask him to repeat that sentence. He does, patiently, like he's said it to 100 parents who needed to hear it twice. You drive home and don't tell Mara yet. You want to hold the sentence a little longer, privately, the way you held the $5,000 all those years ago. Mara gets her license. You hand her keys to a used Civic you paid for outright, and she hugs you longer than a 16-year-old usually hugs anyone. She doesn't know what the Civic replaced. She'll never have to know what riding the bus at 2 a.m. felt like. That's not an accident. That's 12 years of decisions arriving on schedule. The fifth rule? $500,000 doesn't remove the fear. It just gives the fear somewhere else to live besides your kid's future. Level 6. $2 million. Mara is 19, in her second year at a state school with a partial scholarship you didn't need, but she earned anyway, and the rest covered without a single loan document signed. You paid off the house last spring. You didn't tell anyone. You sat at the kitchen table and looked at the zero balance and thought about the woman at the daycare desk, who used to smile at Mara, and not quite at you. And you felt something you didn't expect, which was nothing. No triumph. Just quiet. Mara calls on a Tuesday to ask if she can switch her major, something less practical, something she actually wants. The old you would have panicked at that sentence. You don't. You say, if it makes you happy, figure it out. We'll support you. You mean it in a way that cost you nothing to say and would have cost you everything 15 years earlier. She thanks you and hangs up to go to class. She has no idea what that 60-second phone call would have done to you at level 1. She never will, because you built the distance on purpose. The sixth rule: $2 million doesn't buy your kid's dreams. It buys the version of you who doesn't flinch when she names one. Level 7. $10 million. Mara is 25. You built a business somewhere between level 5 and now, sold part of it, kept the rest, and the number stopped feeling real around $4 million. The way big numbers do. Mara doesn't need anything from you financially, and this is, strangely, the hardest part. You set up a trust for her. Structured, staged, released at intervals so the money teaches patience instead of replacing it. Your estate attorney calls this protecting her from the money. You didn't understand that phrase the first time he said it. You understand it now. Mara visits on a Sunday and asks, almost apologetically, if you'd help with a down payment on a condo. You say yes before she finishes the sentence. She looks at you like she's bracing for a lecture about entitlement, the kind she's heard other kids' wealthy parents give. You don't give it. You remember scraping a peanut butter jar with a butter knife for 11 extra seconds, and you write the check without a single condition attached. She doesn't know that number. She knows the check cleared. The seventh rule: $10 million doesn't erase the memory of zero. It just means your kid never has to build one of her own. Somewhere right now, a woman is standing in front of a refrigerator at 6:12 a.m., holding a lunch bag that isn't full enough. Her daughter is 4. She doesn't know yet what a bank balance is, which is the only mercy in the entire morning. The mother scrapes a peanut butter jar with a butter knife, longer than she needs to, buying 11 seconds before deciding what her daughter eats tomorrow. She doesn't know yet whether she'll be the parent whose kid asks about a pool and gets a flinch, or the parent whose kid, 21 years from now, has no memory of ever needing to ask. The math doesn't care which one she becomes. The math just starts counting the moment she decides to stop letting the money move through her hands without a direction. Somewhere, a kid is about to inherit not a number, but a nervous system. The parent doesn't choose the ceiling. The parent chooses whether the kid ever has to see the floor.